When I first came to Japan about 20 years ago, the big rubbish days were an absolute bonanza for all types of furniture, and also white and brown consumer electronics, from refrigerators to TVs and stereo sets and air conditioners. But then, sometime in the past 5 to 10 years, those kind of things have almost disappeared from the rubbish, because there are new laws requiring that people dispose of their rubbish in different ways. Okay, so how do they dispose of their rubbish now? How do they get rid of old electrical consumer durables? Well, they take them to their local electronics shop, and this is a Panasonic, a little sort of corner store, Panasonic electronics shop. A funny idea, isn't it, to have a Panasonic corner store? This is in a sort of a very small rural village. But until Bill Clinton came along, anyway, with his structural reforms, in all over Japan there were these, and there still are, corner stores with affiliations to the large electronic manufacturers, through which people would buy electronic goods. Now, Bill Clinton came along in the 1990s and demanded that Japanese no longer had these restrictive practices of retailers being affiliated to manufacturers, and demanded that they had large area retail stores. And so that's what they did. They built a lot of large, like Mr. Max and Yamada Denki and Best Denki, and they built these large stores in the outskirts of town where any produce could be sold, not only Japanese manufacturers. It didn't do anything for the Americans, because their products no one wants to buy. But what it did is it changed retailing, and so a lot of purchases are now made from places, large area, very large, in other words, shops. So what happens to the little retail stores? Well, a lot of them went out of business. But what else happened was that they changed the law about how you dispose of your consumer durables, so that you can no longer put it in the rubbish, and you have to take it to a recycling centre, so-called. And the recycling centres are the same, corner stores. And so instead of putting it in the rubbish, you bring it to the corner store, and then you pay a certain amount, depending upon the item. Things with fluorine inside them, such as refrigerators, you have to pay about $50 US dollars approximately, but other things may be free. And from the moment you give them to the electronics shop, they become the property of the state or something. I don't know. They become public property, and no one, and this big pile of electronics here, even though much of it may work, no one can reuse it. It has now become forbidden to reuse it, and it will all be crushed and returned to its constituent parts and made into more consumer durables. So the upshot of it is that those foreigners, mainly, because Japanese people don't like to take things from rubbish tips anyway, that used to get their stuff from large rubbish, no longer can, because it's now all crushed and recycled. Reuse is not something that the Japanese are well into. Fortunately, at the same time, there is Yahoo auctions, the Japanese equivalent of eBay, where a lot of Japanese people do sell their things second-hand, and that's where I now purchase them. But it is rather a shame that there's all this rubbish here that no one can ever use, and it'll just be crushed and returned to metal and plastic. Thank you, Panasonic. You're doing well.